Once upon a time in a forest rich in pine and oak lived a young elf. He lived amongst his neighbors who were clothed in fur and feather, and found joy and peace with each sunrise and silence in the evening light of the stars. He spent his days communing with his woodland brothers and sisters, and the nights in contemplation and meditation. Light shone upon him unstained from the mortal world, and he was happy. But as time passed, he became more aware of the land outside, filled with fear and despair. He knew his time of living in the gentle woods was coming to an end, and his journey as a teacher was upon him. When the morning sun found him again, he walked out of the forest with nothing but the clothes on his back, and strode into the land of man to teach and to be taught. For it is the way of all teachers that the student so often will be the better master. My name is adage, and I am the Elven Scholar. What is the Elven Soul? It is not our own. We do not own it. It is not singular. It is one with all of the earth, all of nature. We are the trees. We are the deer that walks by. We are the water that flows through the streams. We are but one drop in a great ocean. How can you discern the drop from the ocean? We are one with everything. There is no separation between us and all of life. And yet so often we separate ourselves in ego and believe that we are something external, something separate from the birds that chirp in the trees and the clouds that fly by. We are simply nature, the earth, the one mind. We are the stars that shine above, and we're the grass that grows beneath our feet. We are not singular. We are simply one aspect of Arta, one aspect of the earth. Remember who you are, and remember what you are. We are simply the Elven Spirit. There is only one. Yelena Quain, all is one. Mae Govannen, my Elven brothers and sisters. Today I'd like to talk about a subject near and dear to my heart, and that is about how to heal the physical body, but you have to go through the soul first. There's an old adage that says all diseases that appear in the physical must first manifest in the spiritual, within the soul. So today we're going to talk about healing the Elven Soul first before we even bother healing the body. The body will not heal unless we take care of that first. I can speak about this from a lot of experience, not only as a doctor, but as my personal level. As many of you probably know, so some of you will probably find this extreme, but I am a raw vegan. I have found that to be the best healthy lifestyle for myself. And I went through years of having issues with my lungs because of breathing in a lot of mold many years ago and that type of thing, and it took a lot to heal the body. But very blessed and healed. But it wasn't just on the physical level that I worked as a doctor. I also worked on the spiritual, worked on clearing my karma, clearing a lot of issues that I was dealing with so that the body would have an opportunity to heal. And again, this is not meant as bragging, this is saying what we're all capable of. And once you release so much of that, the past traumas and things that are holding you back and bringing darkness into your life, and I've talked about this in other videos before, the body has an opportunity to heal, and there's actual physical evidence behind this that it does work when you let go of the past traumas and such. For example, I have a lot of patients. I've been in medical practice over 20 years, and I'm pretty much the last resort. Most people will not go to naturopathic medicine until they've ruled out everything else, and so they usually end up coming to me pretty frustrated, pretty angry, scared, tired. They've been trying for years, sometimes decades, to find a cure, and they're pretty angry by the time they get to me. And we take some time and we go through and we try to figure out what's going on with them. But one of the most important things we do is we try to talk to them about their spiritual, emotional, mental health. As most of you know, and I've talked about this before, anxiety and depression are extremely on the rise in this country. And that alone will wear you down. And most of the time it's because of past traumas, unresolved issues, not coping with what's happening with them today, especially in today's world with all the stress over viral infections and so forth. And so people get worn down. And as I mentioned in previous videos, there is an actual science called PNI, and it means psychoneuroimmunology. And it means that the actual medical science that delved into why do happy people seem to heal faster than angry or sad or fearful people? Why do happy patients heal faster? A prime example was, again, I may get the name wrong, it's been some time, but Thomas Clancy from back around the 1960s, very famous case with the AMA. He was hospitalized, he was non-ambulatory, so he was stuck in bed. And they told him he had cancer and he had 6 months to live, and there was nothing they could do for it, so he needed to get his affairs in order. And he said, no, I don't think so. He said, I'm not going to die. And they said, you need to face reality, you're going to die. And he said, no. And he had his family go out, remember this is 1960, so 8mm and all those kind of videos. Went out and got all the funny shows back then, the Laurel and Hardy and Abbott Costello and the Three Stooges and the Marx Brothers and on and on and on. All these funny videos. And they brought him to the hospital, the videos, and they set up a projector. And day after day after day he watched these videos. And 6 months went by, just laughing every day. He brought joy into his heart. And in 6 months they said, well, you still have cancer, but you're not dead. But again, you're going to die. Yeah, it's better, but you're going to die. He said, no, I'm not. I think all said and done, it was like a year or something like that, and he wasn't dead, and they couldn't find the cancer anymore. And I'm not saying watching Laurel and Hardy is going to cure your cancer. But I have found with our patients, especially patients that come into my practice with cancer and issues such as those, joy is a huge factor. Joy, decisions based on love, heal the spirit, which then manifests in the body. And it is a great adjunct. It's a great inclusion, and more hospitals are beginning to do these types of things, doing more counseling, doing more Reiki, working on an energy level, working on the spirit. So if you want to heal your Elven body, you start with the Elven Soul and help heal that first. And as I said, there's an actual science behind this PNI, psychoneuroimmunology, where they did some research and they found out that these little protein messengers in the brain called neuropeptides actually support or suppress the immune system. And they found out that the neuropeptides, the type of neuropeptides you create, are based on your emotional state at the moment. Are you happy? And therefore you make happy neuropeptides. Are you angry, depressed, sad, fearful? Then you make the negative type. And the negative type they found actually suppress the immune system, while the joyful, happy, positive neuropeptides actually boosted the immune system. And happy patients tend to heal much better and have a much higher survivability rate than those who are angry or fearful. And unfortunately in this world today, with all this going on, so many people are making decisions based on fear instead of love. And as simplistic as that sounds, we need to treat the soul. We need to find joy in our lives. It was really sad with what's going on today that people are losing such a connection with nature, with each other. I saw an article a few days ago about a gentleman here in the States, because this whole pandemic quarantine thing affects single people in some ways the worst. He's a single individual, and he wrote and he said, I suddenly realized it had been 3 months since I had touched another human being. That's ridiculous. That's absurd. There is no medical basis for doing that type of thing. It's extremely unhealthy. Very sad test they've done on primates, where they took rhesus monkey babies and they took them away from their mother and made sure to give them no physical contact, and they became psychotic. And then they would give them a little stuffed toy of another rhesus monkey, and it would grab onto that and hold on to it because it craved to touch another, to heal its spirit, its soul, to nurture its soul. not just its body, but its soul. Baby cows, when they're taken away from their mothers and the workers come by and the baby cows try to suck on their fingers because they're craving that attention, that closeness, that intimacy. And that's lost in today's world. And I don't see it coming back anytime soon because people are willing to give it up for a false sense of security. Believe me, I'm telling you as a doctor, it is a false sense of security. And I'm happy to debate with any of you as long as the debate is intellectual and without emotions, without attachments. I'm happy to talk about this. Anyway, so we heal the Elven Soul first, which will then heal the body. And one of the greatest damages that have been done to all humans, elves, all fae kind, is to become unattached from nature itself. You saw in the first part of this video, I did a couple of new headers and new little documentary, just a few minutes on the Elven spirit and on who we are and not to forget who we are. We are children of nature. It is who we are and our most basic instincts, right down to the molecular atomic level. We are children of the earth. Edgar Cayce, many of you probably know who he is, but Edgar Cayce once said that, because I ended up writing a book about him on a medical basis, and it was fascinating, his readings. Doctors from all over the world to this day still go to the Edgar Cayce Institute in Virginia Beach, Virginia, to study his medical writings. And this man was not a doctor, had no medical training. He was a photographer, but he was called the sleeping prophet. He would go into a trance, and they would ask him questions about people thousands of miles away. He'd never seen or heard about them, and they would ask him medical questions, and he would be able to give them answers for cures, and it worked so many times. Anyway, he one time made the comment, he said one of the greatest detriments, one of the worst events that ever happened in human history was the creation of cities. Because you cannot unnaturally cram so many people, tens, hundreds of thousands, millions of people into a very small area and think that they're going to get along. And so what they end up doing is, out of survival, they end up building these walls around themselves just to find some kind of peace and alone time. You know, we crave, we're social, but we also need that alone time. And so what happens is they go to the extreme and they end up not seeing each other, talking to each other. People can live next door to their neighbors for 20 years and not even know their names. That's unheard of in human history until the past couple of hundred years or so. And it's become quite rampant since then. So there's a young lady, wonderful story, young lady, North Korean, she lives in LA. And she said how grateful she was to get out of North Korea with its draconian dictatorship and to be free here. But she said there was one thing she missed from North Korea. And you go, what could you possibly miss from that country where there's basically no freedom at all? And she said it was the intimacy between friends. She related a story when she was called a friend in LA. She just called her and said, hey, how are you doing? Her friend got upset, got mad at her and said, why did you call me? Why didn't you just text me? And, you know, we could have talked that way. You know, she didn't want to be bothered with a phone call. And the young lady from North Korea said, it's because I wanted to hear your voice. And she said that's the one thing she misses from North Korea, because friends there don't get together through text, they don't get together through phones. They get together. They meet, they go to the coffee houses when they can, they get together in each other's homes, they hug, they see each other. The intimacy of friendship is still there, and unfortunately that's disappearing rapidly, and that doesn't feed the soul, doesn't feed you well at all. So our connection with nature also is the biggest thing, has been lost. Again, like I said, remembering who we are. They found, especially in Japan, they call it forest bathing. I've talked about this before. The simple act of getting out in the forest, and the old cliche, hugging a tree, being underneath a tree. They found out that that actually affects depression and anxiety through a chemical process. As I sit underneath this pine tree is literally, there are medical valid tests that have been done, trial studies. The tree actually is dropping these chemical hormones and such, and messengers that are falling from the tree that actually affects humans on an emotional level and changes how they react to depression, anxiety in a very positive way. So Japan, the Japanese government actually encourages through programs for people to go out and get forest bathing, to go out, take walks in the forest, go down the trails, get under the trees, hug the trees. And along with that is grounding. Go without your go with your bare feet and get and walk in the grass. They actually did some scientific studies there and found out we can, especially because of diet and stress and so forth, we can have a lot of inflammatory markers in our core cells, create more disease. They found they would do blood tests on someone before, and they would literally have them go out and walk in the grass for about 20 minutes, and they would immediately do a blood test right afterwards for the inflammatory markers. And without fail, the inflammatory markers dropped just within 20 minutes of walking in the grass. Okay, walking on the earth. We are children of the earth, and so many of us have forgotten that. We need to get back into the forest, back into the trees. Even people living in the cities, get out and walk in your yard. Go walk on trails. Get out and experience nature again, and don't forget to hug a tree. The tree is aware of what you're doing. Talk to the tree, talk to your plants, grow plants in your house. Affect your diet. Eat better, eat healthier, eat more live food. These kind of things can help you grow. And one of the most important things I've found to help you get back to who you are, because remember, as I've said before, enlightenment. When you study Zen Buddhism, and it's not a religion, it's a practice, a way of meditating. Zen Buddhism teaches you to let go, to become not attached to all the things that are going on today, and to see life through a more simplistic, non-conventional way, to quit saying me and you, because there is no me, there is you, no you. We are all one. That's why in the previous little section of this I use the Elven phrase, Alien the Quain. All is one. See, I don't say all are one, plural, because it's singular. All is one. We all are just aspects of God, of air. We're just aspects. And so, enlightenment, there's no such thing as enlightenment. There's no such thing between a Buddha and a regular person. We are all the same. Enlightenment simply means that moment of realization of my true nature, of who I am. And we're here because we're trying to teach about elven life and culture and healing. And we want to heal the soul first. Heal that elven soul. I have a book here, it's called Zen Dawn. It's a wonderful book. It's an early Zen text from Thun Huang, early Zen masters. It's translated by J.C. Cleary. And in here it has such simple, basic recommendations, or advice, I guess you could say at first. And I just wanted to read this little section to you, and we're actually almost done here. At the end of this video, I'm popping in a little parable from Sacred Science, a YouTube channel we work with. Thank you very much again for all your support. They donate their videos and graphics to us so that we can help teach from an Elven point of view. And the video at the end of this, it's only a couple of minutes, is the parable of the brick, about learning about letting go of karma, letting go of the past issues, that we act like we are ruled by karma, but at any moment we can just let that brick go and heal. It's up to us. You know, the old cliche, we're in a prison and yet we hold the key. You can let yourself out whenever you want to. So here he talks about to reawaken. In other words, you're already there. We haven't opened our eyes to who we truly are. We're already here. We're already there. We just don't know it. And it says, entering through practice refers to the 4 practices. All other practices are contained within these. What are the 4 practices? First, the practice of repaying wrongs. That doesn't mean revenge. Second, the practice of going along with the casual nexus. Third, the practice of not seeking anything. Just be in the moment. All that there is right now is now. There's nothing else but now. The old cliche, those who are depressed are living in the past, and those who are anxious are living in the future, and those who are at peace live in the now. All right, what is the practice Okay, I'm sorry. The fourth practice is according to the Dharma, living the truth. Okay, what is the practice of repaying wrongs? This is one of the most important ones. Okay, when receiving suffering, when we're getting suffering from what appears to be light or from others, a practitioner who cultivates the path should think to himself, during countless ages past, I have abandoned the root and pursued the branches, flowing into the various states of being and giving rise to much rancor and hatred. Our own selves doing this. The transgression, the harm done, has been limitless. Though I do not transgress now, the results of evil deeds have ripened. The suffering is not something given by gods or humans. Okay, you aren't being punished by God or being attacked by Satan. You do this to yourself. You should willingly endure the suffering without anger or complaint. All right. What that means is, and I believe this, that we have, as elves, we have lived countless lives in the process of growing, letting the elven spirit grow, learning to grow as individuals and as a soul. That we've done many things, and we've been given the blessing of not remembering all those things, but we still pay the consequences for those things. Until we acknowledge that, here's one of the best definitions of karma. What you do to me is your karma. How I react is mine. It's how we react to what others are doing, to what happens within life. If we let the emotions go and go with the flow, we'll be able to let go of that brick that you'll see about here in just a few minutes. We'll be able to let it all go, and that soul will heal. It's again like I talk about with my patients. Those that let go of the past, and we do a lot of counseling to help them through this. When you can let go of the past traumas, because it's over, it's done. And if you're dealing with things that are triggering you today, remember the old cliche, you're not a tree. You can get up and move. You can leave. You can do what you need to do. We learn to let go. We learn to cope. And by gosh, as soon as the soul begins to relax and heal, the body heals as well. I got really wrapped up years ago with my patients. I got to where I cared more about their health than they did. And it caused massive insomnia for me. I could not sleep at night. I rarely slept. And this went on for years, and I just, because I would wake up, and my mind would begin to go, and I would begin to think, what could I do differently? What could I do for them? What could I help them understand? To help them understand that they're just hurting themselves. And then the day finally hit me. I may love them all very much, but I care more about their health than they did. And I learned that I needed to let go, to step back and go, I'm here. If you need me, you know how to find me. But you have to walk your own path at your own pace. And I'm going to do the same for mine. And if I can be of service, I will do that. All right, and the second one, I'm not going to go through them all, but the second one was so important. Okay, the practice of going along with the causal nexus. Very simple. You go with the flow. What you attract is what you emit. If you are a dark, sad person, then you will attract dark, sad people and dark, sad events. But if you find joy in your life, you will attract that to yourself too, and you will be amazed what you can manifest if you'll just simply make decisions based on love instead of fear. Go with the flow. Find that connection again that you have with nature, that you have with each other. For myself, my life has changed dramatically once I let things go, once I changed my outlook on life, once I changed my diet and lifestyle. Again, no bragging, because this is what the human body is capable of. I've talked about before. My wife and I now, there's a beautiful mountain near here. Many of you have heard about it. Very mystical, Mount Shasta. And one of our joys is to go hiking up on that mountain. And we'll go up to over 8,000 feet up to the snow level, not having had a meal yet that day. We might take a few little nuts or something, or seeds as a trail mix that we'll nibble on the way. But we'll go all the way up beyond 8,000 feet without a meal, and then come back down the mountain. Sometimes we'll be snowshoeing, sometimes hiking, and we'll come back down. And and then we'll go home to our beautiful sanctuary here, and then we'll eat, okay? And our energy is through the roof because we greet each day with joy. And to help you maybe understand how I perceive that, my next video, which I'm going to try to get done in about a week, I talked about this before, but I'm actually getting the process done, is I'm going to do a video, a day in the life of one elf. What do I do from waking up till the time I go to bed? What is my average day like? So I'm going to do that video next, and then I'll be doing more videos on the Valar and the Maiar that we talked about before from the Silmarillion from Tolkien. So, alright, I hope this helps a little bit, but maybe go out and find yourself in nature again and realize you're already a whole person. No matter how many people may tell you you're broken, no matter how many times you may feel dispirited, you are a whole person already. Most of us walk around through life blind, but the truth is always there. It doesn't change. We don't change. It's when we suddenly let go and we open our eyes and we realize we were in paradise. We just didn't know it. All right, I hope that helps. Enjoy the little video at the end of this one about the parable of the brick. Let that brick go and enjoy your life. May all of you have a most blessed and gentle Elven day. Namayu.
A young student approached his guru one day and said, "Master, you have spoken so much about karma, but I do not yet understand it. How can I truly learn?" The guru smiled and gestured for the student to follow. The two walked silently to the edge of the village where workers were busily engaged in making bricks for a house. The two stood and watched the activity of the brickmakers for some time, and the guru asked, "Now, do you understand karma?" "No, master," the student replied. The guru paused and slowly nodded his head. He cleared his throat. "What are the workers doing?" "Making bricks," the student responded. "Very good. And what happens to the bricks once they are made?" asked the guru. "They're put in the stack," the student said. "And then?" the guru asked. "Well, they're used to build a house," the student responded, getting more agitated because he could not see what a single brick had to do with karma. The exchange continued, elaborating on every step of how and where the bricks were made, until finally the guru sighed and turned to his student. He leaned over and picked up a freshly made brick and handed it to the youth. "Here, carry this brick with you everywhere you go. Do not put it down under any circumstances. Do you understand?" "Yes," said the student. "Good. Return to me with the same brick in a year's time," exclaimed the guru. A year later to the day, the student returned, brick in hand, to the guru. The youth was barely able to contain his frustration. "Master, I have done exactly as you told me. I have carried this brick with me everywhere, and it has nothing more than caused aggravation and a nuisance among several other things I will not mention in your holy presence. And I have learned nothing at all about karma." The guru chuckled. "Did you set the brick down at any time?" he asked. "No, master, I carried it everywhere," the student exclaimed. The guru smiled. "Ah, now do you understand karma?"